Yeah, I'm not sure if you know this or not, but fragrances are kind of expensive. And honestly, like, it can get kind of hard to cough up a bunch of money for some like smelly alcohol water. Good news is for you is I got some tips that you can use to make sure that you can enjoy fragrances without breaking the bank. Welcome back to Father Fragrance. I'm Tyler, and on today's episode, I'm going to give you a handful of tips that you can use to save some money when collecting fragrances. I'm going to give you 4 of my favorite ways to save money to enjoy fragrances so that I don't lose all of my money trying to smell good, so that you don't have to either. But before we get into this, I'm going to give you some really dope metal music to listen to, and then we're going to jump right in. Let's get it. All right, guys, so here are the 4 ways that I like to save money when buying fragrances. So first thing, and this is the one I would recommend first and foremost, that's going to be utilizing discount websites, okay? I'll give you a handful of the ones that I like and different ways that you can use them and why they're my first stop. Second is going to be the gray market. Ooh, spooky, right? Yeah. Don't worry, totally legal, but there are some things that you're going to want to keep in mind when you're utilizing those avenues as a way to purchase fragrances on a discount. And we'll go through that in depth, okay? And then the third way that I like to save money enjoying fragrances is going to be probably the thing I would recommend most for trying out new fragrances is going to be sampling or decanting. And I'll give you some websites, some trusted sellers that I know, and how to utilize those to be kind of your go-to for fragrance discovery. And then the fourth and last thing I'm going to talk about is going to be cologne fragrances. So you've watched a couple of my reviews. I don't mind them at all. And I'll tell you about how to use those to your advantage without spending a ton of money as well. So let's get right in. All right, first thing and most important thing that I'm going to cover today is going to be discount websites. This is the spot that I recommend you start as soon as you find out that there's a fragrance that you would like to purchase. Now, why do we use those? So the good news is with these ones, we can feel safe, secure, that we're buying authentic products, even though they're discounted significantly. And when I say significantly, sometimes that is the case. I'm talking hundreds of dollars sometimes. Retail prices right now are nuts, especially when you get into high-end niche fragrances. They cost a ton of money, and there's really no reason to be spending that money. Honestly, this right here, when you're utilizing these websites, you're getting authentic fragrances at a significant discount. So I'm going to go through a couple of those websites that I use and some of the pros and cons with them. So one of the more like common ones you'll see probably is FragranceNet. I think that's maybe the biggest one in the country. They've been around a long time, and kind of with that is a handful of goofy things with that. All right. So over time, their deals have kind of diminished. They're not quite as good as they used to be. And that's why they're kind of fallen out of popularity. And they kind of spam you with this weird discount code business model where they just send you messages like, oh, 37% off only today. You don't want to miss it. And then tomorrow they'll text you 37% off only today. Don't miss it. You know, it's the funny thing is like you click it, it's a discount code automatically applied, and it's really just their price for that day. You know what I'm saying? Like come back next week, that 37%, it's still the same, even if they do like 35, you know what I mean? So it's kind of a gimmick or whatever, right? It's a little annoying, and that's why people don't really like it. You'll see this price and they make it seem like they're giving you this crazy good price, like 37% off of a discounted price. That's not it at all. So that's a little annoying, but they're huge and they are vetted, and you know that you're getting good products from them. The other thing is I've seen different people talk about like hits and misses for shipping times. I live in North Florida. They ship out of like Atlanta, I think. I ain't kidding you when I tell you I can purchase something from them and get it in like 2 days turnaround. We're talking Amazon times, you know what I'm saying? That for me has never been an issue, but I have seen other people in the fragrance community say that whenever they purchase from FragranceNet, it takes like 2 weeks to get to them. I've never had that, but apparently other people are, so if you live further away, just keep that in mind, I guess. So that's kind of the skinny on those guys. Another couple big ones in this kind of area, you got FragranceX, right? Joma Shop. Their deals are sometimes good, sometimes bad. It's just you got to compare and contrast, just like any other buying, like you're buying anything else, you kind of want to check prices across the board, right? So keep that in mind. A couple other ones that I really like, the ones out of Canada are probably the best, right? Fragrance Buy, those guys are money, dude. Like they have awesome prices, very hard to beat. Only downfall with them, right? Shipping takes a while. They got to clear customs and all this other stuff. And there's almost always is shipping cost, okay, on top of that. And I know if you're anything like me, dude, like you could be spending 150 bucks on something, but you see $14 shipping. You're like, dude, that's crazy. Like, I can't do that. Disgusting. Makes me sick. Like, I want to puke. I get that way sometimes when I see that. I'm just something about paying shipping just hurts my soul. Just roll it into the freaking price and let's just call it a day. You know what I mean? So that's one thing to consider. However, they often have like, you know, rewards programs or discount codes or whatever that give you free shipping. And then also I know Fragrance Buy, you buy 5 items, doesn't matter how much they cost. You got 5 items in the bag, you send it this way, they give you free shipping. I think they're still doing that, and that's pretty cool. So throwing some cheapies or whatever on the way, you're basically washing off that price and you're getting fragrances instead of spending it on shipping. Yeah, it's just one thing to consider. And then the last couple I like to really like is Our Fragrance out of, I believe, Houston, and then Olfactory Factory. These guys probably have the best prices of the US ones. Like almost always they have, like, there's no reason not to check there. Maybe the availability might not be as good sometimes on some of those compared to like the really big ones, Fragrance Net, Jean Michel, Fragrance Buy. Like they might not have the same kind of inventory sometimes in selection, but that's pretty much the only downfall with them because the prices are unbeatable. The one thing I've had, one other little con with Our Fragrance is I had one thing come from them and like just the box stuffed in a single sheet of bubble mailer. So it was like barely wrapped at all. And I'm like, dude, come on, like one bad toss and you know they're not taking super care of them in the shipping. And this thing is destroyed and I'm out, you know, however much money because I don't even know that they're could be insured or not. So that's one thing to consider. It's the only kind of con because otherwise shipping was fast, super good price, and that's what we're looking for. And then with all of these guys, every one of them, you need to be checking on looking up discount codes. Just like Google discount code for X website. You never know what's going to pop up. Like I've seen 15, 20, 25% off. It's pretty cool how easy it is to find those now. So do not miss out on those. It takes 5 seconds to figure it out. All right, so that was online discounters. The next thing I want to talk about, and this one's probably the most fun to discuss, is going to be the gray market. Now, I'm going to start off with a significant disclaimer here, okay? So listen to me good right now. If you're shopping the gray market, you really, really have to be careful. In fact, I probably wouldn't recommend you use this avenue to find discounts unless you're somebody who has a little bit of experience with fragrances and spotting counterfeits and fakes. This is the spot where you're most susceptible to running into spending money on fake products. Please hear me here, that whenever you use gray market, it is a legal avenue to purchase fragrances, but there is significant risk here. The good news is for the most part, you can mitigate that risk pretty well, and I'm going to tell you how to do that. First things first, the place that I like the most to utilize the gray market, and that term just means that these are going to be sales coming from unauthorized sellers, right? So for the most part, it's just reselling. So like, let's say I have a fragrance over here that I no longer want. I can give it up for money to somebody else. You know, that's where you're going to see like, you know, eBay, Fragrance Marketplace, like all these different spots, right? Or I mean, Facebook Marketplace, all these other spots, right? The place that I recommend, and I'm not joking, the groups on Facebook are fantastic. Fragrance Marketplace, buy, sell, trade, like fragrances, buy, sell, trade, like look up these different groups in there and look for the ones with tons and tons of members in them. These are going to be, believe it or not, the safest place I've found to purchase from. And the real reason for that is there's been lots and lots of vetting in those groups to make sure that those sellers that are putting stuff up for sale are actually legitimate. And the way they do that is through a little, you know, it's like if you're a part of that for kind of that community, you'll see legit checks and stuff. And those are going to be basically quick ways to get references from people who have purchased from that person before to let you know whether or not they had a good experience or a bad one. The cool thing about that is anytime you're about to purchase from somebody, you drop that in there and people will let you know what they think about that person. The other thing is a lot of them will put group expert status on them, and that's typically going to be people who have sold like hundreds, maybe thousands of sales through those, right? So you know that there's lots of people who have bought from them and were satisfied with what they got from them. The places I would actually avoid, and this is going to be surprising because right now, more than anywhere, this is where the fakes are. Facebook Marketplace is almost 100% of the time, man, a no-go for me. You'll see stuff up there like Parfums de Marly going for like 60 bucks. There was a dude in Pensacola trying to sell me a Silver Mountain water, Creed Silver Mountain water for like $80. These are mind-bogglingly low prices, too good to be true stuff, because they are. They are not real. They're selling fakes that look real. And if you don't really know what you're doing, you're going to get stuck buying one. eBay, Mercari, same kind of issue. To give you an example, actually this Christmas, I purchased from eBay, and this was a price that was reasonable. So that's why I thought, hey, maybe this is okay. And the pictures all looked good. The problem is they might have really good photos and then send you an item that actually isn't matching those photos. That's what happened with me. I purchased a perfume for my mother for Christmas. Didn't know until we opened it up, got to see it. It was a fake. The good news is if you do purchase through these like legitimate resale avenues like that, the middleman, right? So the people who are actually the platform you're actually using almost always sides with the buyer. So if you submit a claim about receiving a counterfeit item, a fake, right? Like those are always against the community guidelines. So you're going to be okay. You're going to get your money back, but just save yourself the headache and pretty much avoid those at all costs. Especially if it's too good to be true. It's gonna be, I promise you, it's not gonna be real, okay? So again, just wrapping that up, I really do recommend that this one more for people who kind of know what they're doing rather than new folks, because it's just, you do run the risk of purchasing fakes without really knowing it. So that's just my warning to you guys. It is a great way to buy severely discounted fragrances if you're willing to give it a shot. But there is a little risk involved, and I just really want to make that abundantly clear. I'm not telling you to just willy-nilly buy on Fragrance Marketplace, okay? Do your due diligence, be smart, okay? And then the third thing that we're going to cover today is going to be probably the best way to discover new fragrances. That's going to be through samples and decants, all right? Cool thing about that is there are lots of different options to get these. So there's websites, and then there's also the gray market, like I discussed. So we'll go through each of these. Websites that I like to use and or have in the past, Scent Decant, pretty good availability, always have discount codes. They have tons of choices in sizing, and they all come with an atomizer on the bottle. The only thing I've had with them issue-wise was whenever I order from them, the shipping, like the order itself, takes a long time to get here, like weeks. They are coming out of Los Angeles or Southern California, I think. So it's a long ways from me, but they don't even ship the item out for a week, 10 days sometimes. So it takes a long time to get the product. So that's my only kind of gripe with them. Otherwise, pretty good. Decantex, those guys are out of Miami. They have enormous selection, very good prices, always running discount codes, lots and lots of choices for size variation. My favorite thing about them is their selection is huge. They have a lot of niche designer indie houses that a lot of other folks don't have, right? And you have tons of options for sizing. Also, because they're out of Miami, for me, being in North Florida, they get to me Amazon level stuff, a couple days. I pretty much put the purchase in, they have it shipped. If it's early enough, they'll do it same day or the day after, and I'll get it within 2 days. It's really fast for me, but again, I'm really close. Love those guys. They really do a great job. Sense Angel is another one. I've actually purchased full bottle from them. They have really good prices. They're also a legitimate discounter. I forgot to mention in the beginning, with awesome discount codes. That's where I got my Parfums de Marly Greenlee this year for a ridiculous price. So check those guys out. They do decants as well and samples. And then there's Micro Perfumes is another very popular one with lots and lots of availability. Not always the best pricing, but they have tons to choose from, and they always run discounts as well. The last thing for these is like subscription-based services. So like Scentbox, Scentbird. Don't really recommend those, to be 100% honest with you. They do have like really enticing first month promos that they run. But at the end of the day, you're locked into one a month, and you might be overpaying for them if you don't know really what the going rate is for the size that they give you. And then you're locked into that month to month kind of thing, instead of just going to a decant website where you can purchase when you want, where you want, however you want, what size, the fragrance, all the above, right? You get to see the pricing pretty transparent. Not that you can't do that on the subscription ones, because a lot of them will let you just purchase outright whenever you want. I just think it's a little bit better to go with some of these other ones, okay? Especially because they run discount codes all the time. And then last thing for these is like the gray market has tons of people who do this as like a hobby or a side hustle. So you got decanters in those fragrance marketplace is what I probably usually use, actually. I'm actually awaiting a shipment right now from a gentleman in there who's beloved by pretty much the entire community there. Does great stuff. And the folks that are doing that are usually really good guys. And the cool thing about it is you get to communicate directly to the person that's actually providing the service. So if you have any issues or whatever, you have that, not face to face, but direct comms with somebody who's actually providing the goods to you. And the greatest part about decants and samples is that you're paying maybe $10 to have a few weeks worth of a niche fragrance that's hundreds of dollars. So you don't have to spend all this money up front to enjoy really high quality, expensive fragrances. Maybe the price per milliliter is a little more sometimes, but at the end of the day, $20 is a lot better than $250. So if you can get a month's usage out of that, I think it's worth it, right? And then you're not blind buying things that are recommended to you for hundreds of bucks. You actually get the opportunity to try it yourself. So that covers decants and samples. All right, and then fourth and lastly, and quite honestly, probably the most effective way to save money out of all of the things I've mentioned here, to be completely honest with you, is gonna be buying clone fragrances. Now, if you've been on this channel at all and you've seen some of my reviews, I've reviewed clone fragrances. There is no shame in my clone game, baby. Like, I am A-okay with that. I am not somebody who's like an elitist snob who thinks that the only things worth buying are things that are expensive. To me, that's just like this strange, like designer elitist mentality. The same thing you get with like shoes and clothes. If it's good, it's good. It doesn't have to have that name tag on it to make it good, in my opinion. How do we use clones, right? With clone fragrances, man, really what it comes down to is it's a way that you can enjoy high quality fragrances at a really cheap price. It's not going to have that fancy name tag, or like I said, or when somebody asks you what it is, they're probably not going to have any clue what it is, but that doesn't matter. The goal is smelling good. That's why we like fragrances, right? And clone fragrances today are good. Years in the past, man, it was pretty obvious when you had clones, they sucked bad. Like, they smelled terrible. Now they're pretty darn good. And the way what I would recommend about that is sticking to a lot of the kind of more well-known clone houses, typically the Middle Eastern ones, to be honest with you. So there's all kinds of clone and dupe houses out there, but the ones that are like tried and true are that way for a reason. Now, you're going to see a lot of those guys picked up by different influencers and content creators, and they get all kinds of samples and free bottles of this, that, whatever, to tell you that's good no matter what. I'm here to tell you I have absolutely no reason to lie to you. All of the bottles I own, I've purchased. Nobody sent them to me. So with that being said, when I tell you a clone is good, it's because I actually believe that. I wouldn't purchase it if I didn't think that. Even if it's $20, it's still $20 that I could have used towards something else, right? When you're looking for clone fragrances, I would stick to Armaf, Lattafa, Fragrance World, all these guys, right, that people are kind of familiar with, and they're familiar with them for a reason. They're good. And the way to shop for them, right, is to find like a designer or niche fragrance that you like and try to see if there's a reputable clone out there, and then try to give it a try. The risk that you run buying clone fragrances is that you can be chasing after scents, and you might not ever get exactly the way you want them. The problem with clones is you really don't really get the opportunity to smell them ahead of time, so you're almost always blind buying them. And so the fact of the matter is you might end up throwing out some dead money at a clone fragrance that at the end of the day you actually really don't like, but you didn't know that until you bought it, right? So that's kind of the risk you run with clones. But there's a lot that are very well known and are well reviewed. I would just go find reviews for those and see if what people are saying about them. And if it sounds like it's worth it, I mean, $20, and you're usually okay, right? So that's how I use them. All right, guys, there you have it. That's the 4 ways that I like to save money so that I can continue to enjoy fragrances without losing it all. Hopefully I helped you save a little bit of money yourself, and then you can utilize it on anything else that you'd rather use it on. I really hope that you found this informational, entertaining, and ultimately a way for you to save some money as well. So that was the whole point of me making this video. If you didn't, I'm really sorry about that, but I really do appreciate you sticking around this long. If you wouldn't mind just going down to the comments, let me know if I missed something. Let me know if you thought I did something wrong on this video. And also let me know if you have a better way of saving money on fragrances that I didn't even mention. I would really appreciate that. I really thank you so much for sticking around again. I'm Tyler. This has been Father Fragrance. I can't wait to see you next time. In the meantime, stay smelly, y'all.